Welcome to Worksheet 10. So we're talking specifically about the ablative case today. So if you haven't watched yesterday's video, which is on all of the cases in general, please make sure that you do. We touch on the ablative a little bit, but really ablative has so many different uses that it kind of gets its own day and its own worksheet. So I've chosen 7 to cover today. That doesn't mean that that's every single ablative, of course, but it's kind of the heavy hitters. Okay, so we're going to go through these example sentences first, and then we will look at the back of the worksheet and work through those. So the way I have this set up, right, we have the name of the ablative, the official fancy name of the ablative. Question here means what question does that ablative answer, right? What piece of information does that ablative offer me in my sentence? Vocabulary means any particular like prepositions, for instance, and also what types of words can we expect to see in an ablative of accompaniment, let's say, right? So any ablative of accompaniment, if you are with a person, right, because the question we're answering is with whom, right? I go to the store with whom, I go to school with whom. So that's going to be the preposition cum and then some person or people. So our sentence here, Marcus ambulat, Marcus walks. Okay, cum amicis, he's accompanied by, he's with his friends. Right? So Marcus walks with his friends. So there's an ablative of accompaniment, right? Always with people and maybe animals, depending on how close you are to that particular animal. Ablative of agent is the one we said is, we're going to put that one on the back burner a little bit because we're not going to do passive verbs for a little while. So this would be how you would say by whom. So you need a passive sentence, right? There has to be some action that's been done, and you would say that it was done by a person. So the preposition used there is a or ab, and then always a person, right? So the food was eaten by my sister. The lamp was broken by the stranger, by the burglar, whatever you want to say. Okay. So liber scriptus est, that's a passive verb. Again, put that on the back burner a little bit. The book was written ab Antonio. It was written by Antonius. Ablative of manner and ablative of means are kind of similar, so just we're going to kind of do both of them together. Manner is about what way you do something, in what way do you complete the action. Means, which is sometimes called instrument, is more literally with what, right? With what tool, with what instrument do you accomplish your goal. Manner is always with, I won't say always, but most of the time it's with the word cum, right? And it kind of will be cum and then the quality that describes the way you do something. So abstract nouns. I do it with speed, with skill, with difficulty, with care, with strength, with courage, right? That cum, as you can see in the example here, particularly when you have an adjective, it kind of likes to go in the middle, right? So if you do something with great care, it's much more common to see magna cum cura versus cum magna cura. So a little word order tweak to it. When you have the adjective, you can get rid of cum. If you just say magna cura, that would work too. So the cum is kind of, it's there if it's only the noun. If the noun and the adjective are together, sometimes it goes away. So my verb here, scribo, I write. Magna cum cura, I write with great care, right? Another way you could say that in English is I write very carefully. Versus means, right, which is always an object or a tool, and the key here is no preposition, no cum, no extra word in there. You just put the tool that you're using into the ablative. So miles gladio pugnat, the soldier fights gladio, with a sword. You don't say cum gladio, you say gladio. So fighting with a sword, that is means. Writing with great care, that's manner. place where and place from which, right? We kind of group those together because they tell you everything you need to know. Ablative of place where is where am I? And place from which is where am I coming from? So place where, you're usually going to have a verb without motion, right? It's stationary. So prepositions like in, which means in or on, sub, which can mean under, right? Or if you're talking about a mountain, like if you've got a big mountain here, sub monte means like at the foot of the mountain, right? So under the peak, essentially. It's not, doesn't mean that you live underneath the rock, right? If you live sub monte, you live on the at the base of the mountain. So what are we going to see? What kind of words? Obviously, they're going to be place words. They're going to be locations. So Decimus habitat, Decimus lives in Italia. He lives in Italy, in the Italian peninsula. In Italia, in Germania, countries, cities, right? This is also that case that sometimes some words don't like to do place where like this. Sometimes words like to do the locative, but most words are going to do this ablative, place where. Place from which means we need to have some motion away from a place. So we need one of those prepositions that has this idea of moving away from something. So a or ab literally means away from, right? De means down from. A or x means out of. And then some place, right? So Cornelia exit, Cornelia leaves. Ex oppido, she leaves the town. She exits from the town. She exits out of the town. So when you were say like, Cornelia, where are you coming from? Or where are you leaving? Right? I'm leaving the town. There has to be some movement away from a place. And then the ablative of time, or the ablative of time when, obviously it's going to tell me when the sentence is taking place. So we're going to use time words, words like day, year, month, decade, right? Anything like that. Ablative of time when means when exactly is the action taking place. So edimos, we eat, sexta hora, we eat at the 6th hour. We eat at 6, right? Now I know that an hour is a period of time, but we're focusing in not on, eating for the entire hour, but we eat at 6 o'clock, right? Contrast that with if you wanted to say we eat for 6 hours. That's not the time when you eat, that's the duration of time that you eat, and that's the accusative case. So we have to really think about what we're trying to say. If you're trying to say, oh, we eat at 6. When do you eat? At 6. Right? That would be ablative. But for how long do you eat? Oh, we eat for hours. That would be accusative. And those are the examples for each one. And so on the back here, the first thing we have to do is translate what are actually the examples. Okay? So Marcus cum amicis ambulat, right? Marcus walks with his friends. Now, a couple of people have asked me about this in class, so I just want to make it clear, like a word like his, right? Even though there's no word, you kind of just assume it in Latin, right? There is the word for his, right? You could say cum suis amicis, but if it's not there, you just kind of assume it, right? So if you're reading a sentence and it says, like the example that we did in class, mater filiam amat, don't translate it as the mother loves the daughter, right? The mother's not loving some random daughter over there. The idea is she loves her daughter. You assume that. Unless you're told otherwise. If you were told she loves the daughter of someone else, then they would need to tell you that. But it's always just assumed to be your own. So Marcus walks with his friends, right? He walks with his own friends. He's not walking with some other person's friends. If he were, it would actually say that. He would say he's walking with the friends of some other person. So he's walking with his friends. So that is, of course, the ablative of accompaniment. Like we said, liber scriptus est, the book was written ab Antonio. So when you have ab with a person by Antonius, particularly when you have a passive verb like this, this is what we call the ablative of agent. Magna cum cura scribo, I write. Oops. I write. How do I write? With great care, right? If I write with great care, that's the way that I write. That is what we call the ablative of manner. Versus, like I said, miles pugnat, the soldier fights. Gladio, he fights with a sword. So because we're telling you what object he uses to fight, we call that the ablative of means. Decimus in Italia habitat, right? Decimus lives in Italia, in Italy. So that's telling me where he lives. So that's ablative place where. And yes, these are the examples from the front, but I wanted to start you guys off with some easy ones. Oh, and I did the same one twice. Wouldn't you know it? That's my bad. Cornelia ex oppido exit, right? So Cornelia goes out of is the literal meaning of exit. So she goes out of the town. She goes out of town, we might say in English. That is what we call ablative of place from which. Sexta hora erimus, another one of our examples from the front. We eat literally at the 6th hour. We eat at 6. The hours for the Romans, their time system was a little different. We're not going to really get too far into that right now, though. So this is the ablative of time. When? And my apologies, I meant to change this one to something different, but I forgot. So Marcus walks with his friends. If you're getting deja vu, that's my bad. Now we get into some new ones. So 9, 10, 11, 12, right? These are obviously not the same. So first thing we do is we read the whole sentence. Discipuli stilis scribere possunt. This is probably the word that you don't know. If you know in English what a stylus is, that's the same idea. So in ancient Rome, you would be writing on tablets, right? They would be wax tablets that you would basically be scratching into to write. And the tool that you would use to do that would be a stylus. So Stylus Stilus, it's basically the pencil or the pen, right? So discipuli possunt, the students are able, remember that word always comes with another verb, scribere, the students are able to write stilis. It's pens or pencils or writing utensils. They're in the ablative case. There's no preposition, right? So you have to add in English, they're able to write with their pencils. And again, I'm throwing in the there because students are writing with their own pencils, right? They're not writing with somebody else's pencils. You can add those words. So this would be an ablative of means. And that one you can pretty much tell just from the vocabulary, right? It's an object. It's a tool. It's really the only reason for that to be in the ablative case. Number 10, a rex is a king, right? Summa means the highest. Justitia, when we look this up, justitia, that's justice or fairness, we would probably say. And then our verb here, regit, means to rule. So the king rules. Just by looking at the vocabulary and just by looking at what these words, the way that they're ordered, summa cum justitia, tells me everything I need to know. If you are ruling with fairness, right, he rules with the highest fairness, with the highest equality. This is how he's ruling. This is the way in which he is ruling. So we call that one the ablative of manner. Number 11 here, we have pueri cum aliis discipulis. So we've got the preposition cum, aliis discipulis. These are other students. And then festinant is to hurry or to rush. So I keep forgetting to do that. The boys hurry up, right? Cum aliis discipulis. They hurry up with the other students. So I've got the preposition cum, and I've got people. We call this accompaniment. And then the last one, aqua frigida, cold water, aqua frigida, de alto monte, fluid, verb fluid, to flow. So cold water flows de alto monte. De can mean a couple of different things. It can mean down from, it can mean about. Because we're dealing with flowing water, water that's flowing, I think we're going with the down from translation. Cold water flows down from the tall mountain. I see your question, Jaden. Give me 1 second. Right? Cold water flows. You could say down from the tall mountain. You could just say from the tall mountain. Either one would be okay. This is what we call ablative of place, from which. Now, Jaden, multiple choice in the sense of like, am I going to give you, everything's multiple choice because they're just case endings. In terms of the format of the quiz, my typing line thing is so smooth. Well, good. Yeah, I'm running 1080p, right? So, Jaden, there's going to be a section where I'm going to give you a noun, right, in a sentence. Obviously, it has to be in a sentence. And you're going to tell me what case it is, which, if you theoretically, that's multiple choice, right? Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, locative, vocative. And then you're going to tell me what the use of that case is. So you're going to tell me it's a genitive of description, or you're going to tell me it's an ablative of manner. So I don't know if I'm going to make the format of the quiz multiple choice, but all of this is basically multiple choice. You have so many cases. Translating full sentences, I don't think I'm going to do that on this one. I think I'm going to leave it a little bit more just narrowing in on the case uses, since that's really what we've been talking about. Now, you're going to have to read the entire sentence in order to be able to answer, right? You can't know that something is an accusative direct object if you don't read the entire sentence to understand what it means. But am I going to make you write out the full translation? I don't know. Probably not. What's the difference between place where and place from which, right? I'm not trying to be a cheeky, but place where is the place where you are. Where am I right now? I'm in my room. I'm in my house. I'm in Boston. Place from which would be if I'm coming from somewhere. So I moved here from Florida, right? I moved here from another state. I was coming from the grocery store and I ran into somebody. Will you have to define words in the second section? No. Just the vocabulary. Yep, just the vocab section. That's all good. And I mean, sometimes they give these things names that are like, here's what it does, right? Ablative place where tells me the place where I am. Place from which is the place from which I'm moving. Awesome. You know where to find me. All right, guys, I'm going to cut the video here. Your boy's got to eat some lunch. And I'll be in office hours at 1:20 today if you want to swing by. Bye, everybody.